Folks, we can plainly see there are not enough African American, Latino, and Asian faces in movies and television. Part of the problem are the folks who are behind the scenes. A new report says that Hollywood essentially is dominated by white men all across the board. According to the 2015 Hollywood Diversity Report by UCLA's Center for African American Studies, in 2013, 94% of film studio heads were white, 100% male. 96% of TV network heads were 96% were white, 71% male. Minorities made up only 11.8% of film writers, 17.8% of film directors, and 5.9% of scripted characters. Joining us via Skype to discuss the report is the director of the UCLA's Ralph J. Bunche Center for African American Studies, Dr. Darnell Hunt. Also still with us is Jamila Lemieux and Dr. Jason Johnson. Doc, I got to go. I'm going to go to you first. I was reading Deadline.com last night, and I'm pulling up these various stories. And even the Writers Guild showed essentially the paucity of African Americans. CBS has the worst record in terms of African Americans who are writing on these shows. But this also, and I've been making this argument, that this also contributes to income inequality. Because when we're limited to low-level jobs and not high-level jobs, we don't have the capacity to earn more money, but also we don't have the opportunity to bring the next group of people into the door to broaden the folks who are getting jobs.
That's absolutely right. In fact, that Writers Guild report, I actually authored that report. I've been working with them for the last 10 years or so. And we see that minority and women writers, when they do get in, they tend to hit that glass ceiling pretty early in their careers, and they don't get to the point where they can actually create shows and become showrunners. Of course, Shonda Rhimes is the prominent exception to that rule, but for the most part, it's been very tough for women and minorities in writing.
Now, again, so we saw the Sony email situation. Those Sony emails come out, and Hollywood goes, "Well, we don't know." And at the end of the day, what I explain to people, you got black folks who are CEO of American Express, of Xerox, John Thompson, formerly of Symantec, chair of the board at Microsoft, and other African American CEOs. Yet somehow Hollywood, supposedly liberal Hollywood, cannot deal with this. This, to me, is an example of what is wrong with America.
You're absolutely right. I like to draw parallels between Hollywood and academia in many interesting ways. Hollywood relies upon the idea that what they do is a craft, it's art. You can't regulate it, you can't legislate it. If you interfere with the creative process, somehow you're not going to produce a great product. And of course, white men, because they've traditionally dominated the industry, are the ones who win the Academy Awards, they win the Emmys for the most part, and they have a corner on what counts as quality, as art. And so it makes it very hard. It becomes a vicious cycle for women and minorities to kind of break in, to show that they are viable, they're seasoned, and that they can be trusted with $100 million budgets.
Jason, Jamila, what jumps out at me again, and I'm sorry, we have to call it like it is. I don't want to hear this crap of how liberal Hollywood is and how they support all these different efforts, because throwing a $50,000 check to a civil rights organization is ridiculous when you got folks who when multiple people who are having jobs, making millions of dollars, and you're shutting the door to talented people.
And it's so much more than just the economic inequality aspect of this, which is serious. We also have to think about, these are people that determine how folks across the planet see black people, see Latinos, see queer Mexican women in California. We're seeing ourselves reflected through the lens of affluent white maleness, and that is absolutely dangerous.
And part of the problem also that I see is that they can't even justify it financially anymore. Because, you know, that used to be the story in the 80s and the 90s, like, well, we can't sell black people. Well, that's not true. That's not true with Will Smith and Idris Elba. That's not true with Empire. And the other thing is, they're like, well, we can't sell it in the Midwest. Trust me, in my class of all white students at Hiram College, I asked the girls, what's your favorite romantic movie? They said Love and Basketball. I was shocked. Okay? So clearly, it's not that you can't sell black products and black talent and black ideas. It's that these gatekeepers are keeping people from getting in the room.
And again, Doc, the thing that jumps out at me is the fact that we've seen these reports over and over and over again. And again, when I was reading the report about the Writers Guild, the question is, how do we change it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think that on every single front, there needs to be interventions. We need to hold the industry accountable, obviously, because I agree, as a sociologist, I'm very concerned about these images when you have white men controlling what we see, the stories that the nation tells about itself. I think the talent agencies who package a lot of these projects with A-list talent need to be held accountable. The networks need to demand from the talent agencies products that reflect America. The guilds need to figure out ways to increase the pipeline of talent into the guilds. I mean, it's the same old small pool argument. I mean, the argument is there aren't enough talented minorities and women to occupy these top positions. I mean, that's nonsense. And so what needs to happen is people who are out there, who've shown that they can do this work, need to be given the opportunity, and that's what's not happening. Well, it's been very difficult to kind of, force this from the outside. There's really not been a successful boycott, but I think the public needs to be aware of what they're missing because of the way Hollywood currently works.
Well, so here's part of the problem, and look, let's cut right to it. Even when you talk about a boycott, unfortunately, you get these African Americans who go, oh no, you should knew they were going to lose opportunities. I'm going, you're not getting them right now. I mean, I remember when the NAACP was doing this, and I interviewed Loretta Devine, and she was blasting. I said, wait a minute, okay? You do know why they are doing this. Now, the issue, it has to be sustained, and I just think folks have to be absolutely called out and challenged where they are, and that is the studio heads of every organization, the guilds, but not just them, the talent agencies, the entertainment law firms. I mean, this is a whole industry that freezes us out top to bottom.
And every single time every time there's a big action movie or something else like that, we see one of these talent releases where they're like looking for white female, regardless of how the character's written in the book, always looking for a white female, always looking for a white male. And I think one of the ways that we can actually impact this, all these subsidies that these movie studios get from local cities to film here and film there, they need to get involved, because that's worked sometimes with film crews. They've said, hey, you need to diversify the crew. They need to diversify the writers as well. You can get people in the pocketbook.
Well, again, the reason Dr. Hunt, the reason I want to keep raising the economic point, because it's very simple. When you freeze us out of those positions, you're freezing us out of being able to generate wealth. That leads to, for instance, you're on a writer on a show, all of a sudden you become a showrunner somewhere else. The showrunner all of a sudden begins to control a show. You now begin to earn the money from syndication rights if your show makes it to the syndication. Now you're able to fund other projects. And so somebody watching might say, well, you know, that's just a writer. No, but do understand, this is an entire system that systematically is freezing us out.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's a very lucrative industry. People make tons of money in this industry. And so you're right, that's wealth that's not accruing to African Americans and to other minorities. So, you know, it's an injustice on several levels. I mean, there's the economic level, but there's also the social level in terms of the images that circulate that are giving us a one-sided sense, in some cases stereotypical sense of what America is and what minorities in America are. So, yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, it's high time that we figure out, you know, how to address this. That's why we decided to do this report now, to kind of really give you a comprehensive sense of where the bottlenecks are, where the obstacles are, because business as usual is not working. It's not like this is going to correct itself or it's going to get better.
Absolutely. We certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot, folks. You can go to bunchcenter.ucla.edu to actually see the report or go to news1.com. Doc, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right.